Do you ever feel like you're just drowning in a sea of to-dos? Well, today, we're throwing you a lifeline. We're going to break down David Allen's world-famous productivity method, getting things done. It's a system designed to help you finally regain control and focus in a world that, let's be honest, never ever stops. So why do we feel so overwhelmed all the time? I mean, it seems like a constant, right? In this 24/7, always-on world, we're just bombarded with emails, notifications, and commitments. And the result is that constant low-level buzz of stress, a feeling that you're always behind. This quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. Every single thing you've promised yourself you'll do but haven't done yet, it doesn't just exist out there as a chore. It's also living rent-free inside your head. David Allen has this brilliant term for these things. He calls them open loops. And honestly, the best way to think about them is like having 50 browser tabs open in your brain at all times. Each one represents some unresolved thing that's just sitting there, quietly sucking up your mental RAM. I mean, does any of this sound familiar? The unanswered emails, the errands you gotta run, that project idea you had in the shower. Every single one is an open loop, and they're all fighting for a piece of your attention, all day long. And here's the real kicker. Your mind, it's a terrible office assistant. It reminds you to buy milk when you're in the middle of a huge presentation, right? Or it'll ping you about a work deadline just as you're trying to fall asleep. It's the right information at the absolute worst possible time. And all that does is create anxiety. This right here, this is the quote that changes everything. Seriously, let this one sink in. Your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. The second you start using your brain as a warehouse for your to-do list, you're kneecapping its ability to do the cool stuff, being creative, solving problems, actually thinking. So what's the goal then? It's to get to a state that Allen calls a mind like water. Just picture it. You throw a little stone into a perfectly still pond. The water ripples, but it responds perfectly. Not too much, not too little, and then it goes right back to being calm. That's how we want our minds to work, ready for anything. I love this metaphor. It talks about this frictionless state called swing. And that's the feeling, right? It's not about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to be productive. It's about creating a system where the momentum, the swing, just carries you along effortlessly. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we get that mind like water? Well, it's not some magic trick. It's a practice. GTD is built on a really practical 5-step method to get a handle on all this stuff and clear your head. It all breaks down into these 5 simple steps. First, you capture everything. Then you clarify what it is. After that, you organize it. Then you reflect on it regularly. And finally, you just engage. Capture, clarify, organize, reflect, engage. Now we're going to dig into a couple of the most important parts of this. Okay, that first step, capture, it's the foundation. And when we say capture all things, we mean everything. The big projects, the tiny errands, the maybe someday ideas, all of it. Get it out of your head and into what Allen calls a trusted system. Could be a notebook, could be an app. Honestly, the tool doesn't matter. What matters is that it's not your brain. Now this right here, this might be the most powerful trick in the entire GTD playbook. Look at the difference. On the left, you have, do my taxes. Ugh, that's so vague and stressful. But on the right, call accountant to schedule appointment. See, that's something you can actually do. It's a real physical action. This is how you kill procrastination before it even starts. And this quote just sums it up beautifully. Think like a man of action. Act like a man of thought. What that means is you do all the hard thinking up front when you're figuring out that next action. Then, when it's time to actually do the work, you don't have to think. You can just act. So it all boils down to this one super simple question you have to ask yourself for everything on your list. What is the very next physical, visible action? Not the whole project, not the end goal, just what's the very next tiny step? That question right there is the engine of the whole system. So what's the glue that holds all of this together? It's one habit, and it's absolutely non-negotiable: the weekly review. You know that feeling you get right before you go on vacation? Everything's handled, you're packed, you're clear. Imagine feeling that way every single week. That's what the weekly review gives you. It's your time to reset and make sure you can totally 100% trust your system Okay, so when you actually start putting this into practice, you pretty quickly realize it's about way more than just having a tidy to-do list or hitting inbox zero. The real payoff? It's much, much deeper. I mean, think about it. What happens when you stop forcing your mind to be a filing cabinet? Well, for one, your stress just plummets. And all that mental energy you get back, it goes into real focus, into actual creativity, and you get this amazing sense of control that you might not have felt in years. And this is the real magic. You stop thinking of your stuff, and you start thinking about it. It's a huge shift. Suddenly, you've got the space to think about the big picture, to be strategic, to actually be present with your friends and family instead of having your mind wander to that email you forgot to send. At the end of the day, what GTD really is, it's a practical recipe for getting into that elusive state of flow. Being in the zone. When your system is handling all the noise, you can just immerse yourself completely in what you're doing. No distractions, no stress, just you performing at your absolute best. This old quote just sums up the whole philosophy perfectly. A vision without a task is a dream, and a task without a vision is just drudgery. GTD is the bridge. It gives you a rock-solid system to handle the daily grind so that you have the freedom and the clarity to go after your biggest, boldest visions. So really, this whole system forces us to rethink what productivity even means. It's not about being a busybody or doing more, more, more. It's about being appropriately engaged. It's about having the clarity to know you're working on the right thing at the right time in the right way. So I'll leave you with this one question. Right now, what's on your mind? Pick just one thing that's been bugging you. Don't worry about the entire project. Just ask yourself, what is the very next physical thing you could do to move it forward? Even just a tiny bit. Because that one small step, that's where everything starts.